10 years ago today, I was at my apartment here in Munich. This was about a month before I moved to the US. It was a Friday around 6 p.m. I was about to leave for a summer fest at the radio station I worked for when suddenly I started to get notifications on Facebook and Twitter, and people were messaging me about an active shooter in Munich at Olympia-Einkaufszentrum, which is a big mall in the northwest part of the city. A few minutes later, my dad was on the phone saying that he drove by as the shooting was happening and he kind of saw it in the rearview mirror. But in the moment, he thought it was like a BB gun or something. He didn't realize that right behind him, 9 people had just been killed by an 18-year-old shooter. Shootings are so rare in Germany that most of us have never even heard a gunshot before. My dad's car is actually in the video of the shooting that later went viral. I'm pretty sure that everyone who was in Munich that day remembers where they were and what they were doing when all of this was going down, because the whole city was in a state of emergency and nobody knew what was happening. At the beginning, we all thought this was a large-scale terror attack because people kept posting about new shootings all over the city, so we assumed that this was a citywide attack with multiple perpetrators. The entire public transit system shut down. Everyone was supposed to shelter in place, and a lot of people who were out and about were stranded in the city without a way to get home, so many of us took to Twitter offering them to take shelter at our homes under the hashtag offene Tür. The police received thousands of calls that evening. Many of the callers reported that they had heard gunshots in a different part of the city or that they saw someone with a gun. Overall, more than 70 different reported crime scenes floated around. One of them was Karlsplatz Stachus, which is a huge square in downtown Munich. In many public places, people started panicking. At Hofbräuhaus, some tourists even broke a window to climb out because they had locked the doors in order to keep any potential shooters out. But inside, it was pure chaos because some people thought that they had heard a gunshot, so panic set in and many people got injured. Now, several of my friends lived in the area of the shooting and started to share live video updates from the scene on Facebook. I also remember seeing friends and friends of friends taking to social media looking for their loved ones who had been at the mall that day. I specifically remember seeing desperate posts by a young man who couldn't get a hold of his little sister, Amela, and was asking people to help him locate her. Tragically, she turned out to be one of the victims. She was only 14 years old, just hanging out with her friends at McDonald's. I myself have been to that McDonald's and the mall more times than I can remember, so it felt really weird having something like this take place at places that were so familiar. Now, this was July of 2016. The shooting happened just 1 week after the terror attack in Nice and a little over a year after Charlie Hebdo, so it immediately gained international attention, and leaders from all over the world issued statements about it, including US President Obama.
I was a little bit delayed. Some of you are aware there were shootings in Germany, and we don't yet know exactly what's happening there, but obviously, our hearts go out to those who may have been injured. It's still an active situation, and Germany is one of our closest allies, so we are going to pledge all the support that they may need in dealing with these circumstances.
For the rest of the night, most of us were glued to our screens as we were waiting for updates from the Munich police. The spokesman of the Munich police, Markus da Gloria Martins, actually became a very familiar face in Germany that day. A few hours in, we learned that the shooter had shot and killed himself around 8:30 p.m. Then around 10 p.m., some of the subways and other public transports started to run again slowly. And around 1:30 a.m., the police finally gave the all clear and issued a statement that there are no other shooters and that there's no risk to the public at this point. So after hours of uncertainty, chaos, and panic, most of us could finally relax again, except for those who lost their loved ones that day, whose world was forever shattered. 9 innocent people, most of them under the age of 21, were brutally murdered by 18-year-old David S. We later learned that he had acted alone. There was only one shooter that day. All of the other reports must have been from people who heard something that they thought were gunshots or thought they saw suspicious people, but David S. was the only shooter in Munich that day. He walked into the McDonald's location across the mall, which was a popular hangout spot for teens and other people in the area. He went into the bathroom, took out his gun, and then shot at a group of people sitting at one of the tables before storming outside and shooting more people on the street. He then went across the street into the mall where he killed one more person before fleeing the scene and later killing himself. He did leave a manifesto which made it clear that he acted out of xenophobia and racism. He picked July 22nd on purpose because it was the same date that Anders Breivik committed his far-right terror attack in Norway in 2011. He even used the same kind of gun as Breivik. David S. subscribed to racist ideology, he was anti-Semitic, xenophobic, and he talked about how the Aryan race was superior. He was a big fan of the far-right German party AfD, very nationalistic, and reportedly he was even drawing swastikas and doing the Hitler salute while he was in psychiatric treatment. All of his victims had a migration background, as we say in German, a Migrationshintergrund. The craziest part is that the shooter himself did too. His family was from Iran. He had dual citizenship, and his birth name was actually Ali. He had changed it to David just 2 months before the attack. In a video clip that shows him arguing with a resident of one of the nearby apartment complexes right after the shooting, you can hear him say that he's German and that he was born here. So that was clearly important to him. We later learned that he was also a member of a far-right online group chat called Anti-Refugee Club, where he was connected to more than 250 other people all over the world who shared the same far-right ideology, mostly young men. One of them was the American William Atchison, who he was in close contact with. Atchison himself ended up killing 2 kids in a school shooting in New Mexico in 2017, so over a year after the Munich shooting. A crime that many people believe could have been prevented if the German police had done a better job at investigating David's connections and motives. In fact, there's been a lot of criticism of how German authorities have handled the attack. For 3 years after it happened, it was officially labeled as an Amoklauf, so a shooting rampage with random victims triggered by bullying at school, until 2019 when it was finally declared a politically motivated right-wing extremist terror attack. This is one of the reasons why many of the survivors and the victims' family members and friends feel like the German police and authorities haven't been doing their jobs properly. On the night of the shooting itself, they barely received any updates and information, let alone mental support from the authorities, while the parents of the shooter were reportedly put in a victim protection program and brought to a safe place the night of the shooting. They're also still demanding more in-depth investigations. Okay, I just drove to Olympia-Einkaufszentrum, to the mall, because today, for the 10-year anniversary of the attack, there is a big memorial event taking place. The German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, is going to be there, the Munich mayor, Dominik Krause. There will be a moment of silence, so let's go check it out.
Niemand steht aufgrund seiner Herkunft über jemand anderen. Hier werden oft schon bei jungen und immer häufiger bei sehr jungen Menschen in Schulen und Vereinen, vor allem aber in Chatgruppen und sozialen Medien, menschenfeindliche Haltungen festgeprägt, Haltungen, die tödliche Konsequenzen haben können. Deshalb ist nichts davon harmlos. Hakenkreuze, Nazi-Symbole, wie sie mit immer weniger Scheu zur Schau gestellt werden, rechtfertigen eben nicht nur rückblickend Nazi-Verbrechen, sondern sie fördern heute Rassenhass und Bereitschaft zur Gewalt. Bekämpfen müssen wir alle, jeder und jeder auf seine Weise, und an ihrem Ort bekämpfen müssen wir ein Klima, das feindlich gegenüber Menschen mit Zuwanderungsgeschichte ist. Begreifen wir endlich, Zuwanderungsgeschichte haben nicht nur einzelne Menschen. Unser ganzes Land hat sie. Deutschland ist ein Land mit Migrationshintergrund. Das macht uns aus. Und gerade
als Vertreterin des Bayerischen Parlaments stehe ich hier und heute neben Ihnen voller Demut. Ich weiß um Ihren Schmerz, Ihre unendliche Trauer. Ich weiß auch um Ihre Wut, Ihre Enttäuschung, Ihr Gefühl von Ungerechtigkeit, weil Sie zu schwer kämpfen mussten. für die Wahrheit, für den Respekt, für Anerkennung, für ihre Rechte und Verständnis.
Then the families of the victims, as well as one of the survivors, got to share their stories, and one thing became very clear. They're angry and upset by how authorities have been handling the case and are demanding for the Bavarian Parliament, the Landtag, to form an investigation committee, ein Untersuchungsausschuss, to finally clear up all of the unanswered questions.
Sehr geehrter Herr Bundespräsident, wir waren 6 Jahre alleine, bis wir unsere Initiative gründen konnten. Ich hätte mir gewünscht, dass Sie nicht zum 5. und 10. Jahrestag die Politiker an uns wenden. Wir hätten eure Unterstützung schon früher gebraucht. Wir mussten für alles kämpfen und hatten keinen Beistand. Wo wart ihr zu diesem Zeitpunkt? Und war es schon vom ersten Tag an klar, dass es kein Amoklauf war, sondern ein rassistischer Anschlag? Warum habt ihr uns die Tat immer wieder als Amoklauf verkauft? Könnt ihr uns erklären, warum es so lange gedauert hat, diese Tat als rechten und rassistischen Terroranschlag anzuerkennen?
1999, nach dem Ende des Krieges, stand unsere Familie vor einer schweren Entscheidung. Bleiben wir oder gehen wir zurück? Mein Vater wollte zurück und ich werde einen Satz von ihm niemals vergessen. Wir leben seit 1993 hier. Wir haben alles gemacht, was von uns erwartet wurde. Aber wir werden hier niemals ganz akzeptiert. Damals habe ich den Satz nicht verstanden, heute verstehe ich ihn. Und trotzdem ist mein Vater geblieben. Nicht für sich, sondern für uns, für dich. Er glaubte daran, dass seine Kinder hier sicher aufwachsen würden und deshalb traf er die schwerste Entscheidung seines Lebens. Wer hätte damals gedacht, dass genau diese Entscheidung irgendwann das Leben seines Sohnes kosten würde? Du bist hier groß geworden. Deutschland war nicht nur das Land, in dem du gelebt hast, es war deine Heimat. Hier hast du Freunde gefunden, hier hast du gelacht, hier hattest du Träume. Hier sollte deine Zukunft sein und trotzdem wurdest du aus rassistischem Hass ermordet mit nur 20 Jahren. Dimo, ich hätte dir so viel zu erzählen. Ich wünschte, ich könnte dir sagen, dass dein Tod etwas verändert hat, dass wir als Gesellschaft verstanden haben, dass niemand mehr wegen seiner Herkunft Angst haben muss. Aber das kann ich nicht. Wenn ich sehe, wie unser Land sich entwickelt, fällt mir das schwer. Stattdessen sitzen 10 Jahre später Menschen in unseren Parlamenten, die wieder Feindbilder schaffen. Migrantinnen und Migranten pauschal zu Sündenböcken machen und mit ihren Worten den Boden für Ausgrenzung und Hass bereiten. Worte, die wir viele längst überwunden glaubten, finden wieder Applaus. Und ich frage mich, wie es sich für dich anfühlen würde, das zu sehen. Ob du glauben könntest, dass 10 Jahre nach deinem Tod noch immer darüber diskutiert wird, wer dazugehört und wer nicht. Dass auch du für manche wahrscheinlich nicht in das Bild dieser Gesellschaft gepasst hättest oder Stadtbild. Das macht mich sprachlos, denn ich hatte gehofft, dass dein Tod wenigstens dazu beigetragen hätte, dass wir lernen und nie wieder zulassen, dass Menschen wegen ihrer Herkunft entmenschlicht oder ausgegrenzt werden.
Die Menschen sehen heute die Kameras, die Reden, den Gedenktag. Aber sie sehen nicht, wie es bei uns zu Hause aussieht. Sie sehen nicht den leeren Platz am Tisch. Sie sehen nicht dein Zimmer. Sie sehen nicht die Stille, die seit 10 Jahren bei uns eingezogen ist.
Für mich steht seit 3652 Tagen die Zeit still. Jeder Herzschlag, jeder Atemzug, jeder Morgen ist für mich der 22. Juli. Aber ich bin nicht an diesem Tatort gekommen, um still zu trauern oder Statisten zu staatstragenden Erinnerungsfotos zu sein. Mein Schmerz hat mich verändert. Er hat mir gezeigt, dass ich in den Finger in die offene Wunde legen muss, damit Gesellschaft und Politik nicht vergisst oder die Geschichte verdreht. Deswegen stehe ich heute vor Ihnen als Mutter und als Anklägerin. Wenn wir auf die Landkarte der Bundesrepublik Deutschland blicken, sehen wir eine blutige Spur des strukturellen Rassismus. Was sind die Versprechen dieser Verfassung wert, wenn Angehörige demonstrieren müssen, um die Aufklärung des Mordes an ihren Liebsten einzufordern? Uns reichen staatstragende Worte und feierliche Gesten vor den Kameras nicht. Ein Staat, der seine Bürger nicht schützt, die Taten nicht beim Namen nennt und die Aufklärung behindert, beschädigt sein eigenes Fundament. Herr Bundespräsident, an diesem Ort wird nicht mehr um Aufklärung gebeten. Wir fordern Sie ein. Wir fordern die sofortige Einsetzung eines parlamentarischen Untersuchungsausschusses im Bayerischen Landtag zur lückenlosen Aufarbeitung.
At 5:51 p.m., the time of the shooting, there was a minute of silence, and all over Munich, public transit came to a halt as well. Now, of course, this story isn't about me. I just decided this morning to briefly share my memories of that day, and I was very moved by the memorial event, so I wanted to share some of that. So please consider this video a short, informal summary of what happened 10 years ago from an outsider's perspective. For more in-depth information about the attack, I will link some German-speaking and English-speaking reports down below, as well as the website of the association München Erinnern, which was founded by the families of the victims specifically to remember the attack and demand justice. You can support them with a donation, among other things. This day is about my fellow Münchner and Münchnerinnen who lost their lives 10 years ago to hatred and racism. It's our responsibility as a city, as a country, and as people to make sure that their names will never be forgotten and that attacks like these stop happening. Their names are Armela, Can, Diamant, Giuliano, Hussein, Roberto, Sabine, Selçuk, and Sefta. Rest in peace.